Okay. Are you, if you can hear me and you are here, okay. Okay. I can actually hear myself now. I wanted to verify my sound was on. It was not on. So we are here. Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to. It's just so near and dear to my heart. And it's something that I've put off for too long, but we know about times and seasons, and it's time to have this conversation. We see a lot of different things going on in the God has really been highlighting to me. We often talk about how the fatherless generation and what that looks like and what's produced from that. But God has been highlighting to me how we have a motherless. And what happens, there are not mothers nurturing, building, edifying, educating, and equipping children to become who they are supposed to be as adults. So we are going to go on a journey over the next 7 weeks. And tonight we are talking about love versus care. Love versus care when it comes to mothering. And it was through my journey with breastfeeding that God really began to show me some things that I miss, even with my other children, my older children. Each child I've been able to develop and mature and grow more and more. And with this particular last baby that I've had, have entered into long-term breastfeeding, as they would like to call it. And so in that, I was just really starting to research and even pray and understand what the benefits of breastfeeding was. Because why did I feel led to keep breastfeeding this baby? Why did I feel strange about cutting him off or weaning him? I didn't quite understand. And so I went on a little bit of a research journey, and it was able to back some of my other understanding and findings that I had on what child development is from the mothering perspective. And so I started off looking at the term breastfeeding itself, and I'm like, where did this come from? Because what was it initially called was nursing. And so I wanted to understand why we call it breastfeeding, because it's feeding your baby. This was the natural design of feeding. And so where did we go to where we had to give it a terminology? And this began to this took me down, this took me in a journey, but I'm gonna shorten it for you guys tonight. So first, the reason why breastfeeding had to be created, this term had to be created, because an alternate method of feeding was introduced, and this alternate method of feeding was bottle feeding. And this happened because we entered into this work society where instead of it being a one working home, we entered into a period of two parents working in the home. So the mother and the father started to work. When this happened, there needed to be a way to feed the babies. And so this is where we see the introduction of formula and its heightened sense going up, all of these. Okay, it looks like my connection is back. So we see these two terms are now created: breastfeeding and bottle feeding. And you were able to differentiate between how you wanted to feed your baby based on what your lifestyle was at the time. So if you stayed home, then you most likely breastfed. If you went to work, you most likely bottle fed. But we see a shifting happening in a very strong period of time where breastfeeding was reduced down to a very marginal amount of people, and there was an influx of bottle feeding. There was an influx of formula. And this artificial milk and this different type, or this alternative method of feeding, is what I was paying attention to. Because as you know, all, I have 6 children, and I have breast and bottle fed all of them except this last one. And I have noticed a difference between what happens when they are fed by the breast and when they're fed by the bottle, even the difference in how the milk impacts them. And I can say that when I was bottle feeding my baby and introducing formulas, there were a lot of different formulas I had to go through in order to find the right one. And it ended up never being the right one because whatever was in it was not compatible to what they needed. And so because of this work culture and because of this split model that was introduced, we see that bottle feeding became prevalent because of convenience. It was a convenient thing. It was easy to just grab some formula. The government was offering all kinds of incentives to buy it. They were offering even programs to help you pay for it. And so this influx of formula just went out. And so as I was researching this, I'm like, okay, there's something here when we're talking about artificial milk and pure milk, right? You know, they call your breast milk liquid gold and when it's first coming out because of the heavy amount of nutrients and benefits it does for the baby. But when we look at these terminologies and we look at the choice to breast or bottle feed, we see that this method, this small thing, it deduced that time spent with the mother to feeding only rather than what it was holistically designed to be. Now, before I go any further, I want to say that you're not wrong if you chose a bottle feed. You're not wrong if you chose a breastfeed. That's not what this is about. It's not about blaming you or making you feel like, oh, I made the wrong decision or condemning you. There are people who cannot breastfeed right now because maybe the baby was born premature. Maybe the milk did not come in. Maybe there's some medical things going on. So this is not to make you feel shame that you weren't able to breastfeed. This is just to bring perspective to the original design of things and how they were supposed to be and why this matters in the development of the child and how it's going to show you what I'm setting the tone for the foundation of how things flow. Okay. So what was breastfeeding originally called? Nursing. This is back even biblically. It was called nursing. And it's interesting how we keep the term weaning, which is what happens when you are pulling the baby out of eating from the breast and on into, using a cup and eating regular food. We kept the term weaning, but we didn't keep the term nursing. And we still see it used, but not nearly as much as breastfeeding. And so the original meaning of the word nursing is to suckle or to give milk. But as I dove deeper into this, I found something else. The word nurse means to nourish at the breast, to suckle, or to take nourishment from the breast. And so a common theme that we see with nursing is nourishment. And we often think about nourishment as food or water, and that may be true, but nourishment is also the ability to nurture. And this is how we get to our talking point for today. Because nurturing has to do with training, upbringing, developing, and educating. What I believe we see today is a whole lot of care and not exactly the appropriate demonstration of love. So I'm going to make a controversial statement, and you can agree or disagree. But there is a difference between being loved and being cared for. There is a difference between being loved and being cared for. You can be cared for and not loved, but you cannot be loved and not cared for. I'm going to say that again. You can be cared for and not loved, but you cannot be loved and not cared for. So we all have something called a moral compass, right? So you can have a moral compass to care for something. You can even be driven to care for it. But that does not mean that you love it. It means you have this or understanding that caring is necessary for something to thrive, but it still doesn't mean that you love it. For example, if you take your child to the doctor, a doctor's care means they will do everything necessary for the benefit and health, even the longevity and quality of life for your child. But that doesn't mean that they love your child. I'm going to say that again. When you take your child to the doctor, they care. They will do everything necessary for their benefit, for their health, for their longevity of life. But that doesn't mean that they love your child. So you can care without love, but you cannot love without care. And so what we see lacking today is the ability to love, and nurturing is the substance of care and love. Care can be absent of love. Love cannot be absent of care, but nurturing is the substance of love and care combined. And so what is the definition of care? Care is the provision of what is necessary for health, welfare, maintenance, and protection for someone or something. If you are doing what's necessary, you will take, if you're in raising your child, if you're doing what's necessary, you will take every point of their health, their welfare, their safety, their protection. But as you read on to what care is, it also says to avoid damage or risk. So this means that when you care, you are doing something. You are doing what's necessary. You are meeting the basic necessities to prevent this thing from risk or damage. Okay, to avoid risk or damage, to keep this thing from getting into any type of damage. Now let's look at what nurturing is. Nurturing is to care for and encourage the growth and development of something or someone. To care for and encourage the growth and development. So nurturing takes care, which is everything that we just discussed above or before, where you are providing what is necessary, but also, in addition to that, you are also encouraging the growth and development. And nothing can grow, especially you as a person, cannot grow or be properly developed without love. It is fundamentally necessary for you to experience love in order for you to grow and mature the right way, in a healthy way. Any area where you have been void or stripped or robbed or love was withheld from you will always demonstrate in you as you get older. You will see it appear in some form in your life, whether it has to do with your decision making, whether it has to do with how you raise your children, whether it has to do with how you see yourself, whether it has to do with what you choose to do. You will see it appear. And so I can care for you, right? I can care for you. When people say, what do they say? Because you're no longer in a doctor's care, right? That means once you are discharged from that doctor's care, they are no longer responsible for anything that happens with you. So I can care for you to an extent and release you if you're just under my care. But when I love you, that's not possible. When you're under care, you can say you've done enough. You do just what's enough. People that care for something, they'll say, I've done what I'm supposed to do. And if you're talking about mothering, that's a form of absent parenting. I've checked off the block. I've done the basic necessities. I've did what I'm supposed to do, and now they're gone. That's that mentality where we put our children out at 18. We tell them you can't stay here anymore after that. None of those things are supposed to exist. But this is what happens when you care and don't truly know how to love. When you love, you are encouraging growth and development because you understand nurturing is a continued process. And there are always areas where we need to be ripened and matured, even as adults. Even as an adult, my mother will always find a place in me that needs to be matured and developed. So this lets you know that even when you grow, you will always need to oversight in that area. And love does this. Love is able to see those areas and help you grow and cultivate them. You cannot do this without love. With love, you're not emotionally incompetent, right? You're not emotionally paralyzed or handicapped. You're not emotionally in conflict or turmoil. Your emotions, you're not emotionally driven. In the book of Isaiah, there's a verse where it says that God turned his face in anger from us for a moment. So this lets us know that love is exclusive, it's long-standing, it's all serving, it's always present, it's always giving. Because after that moment, God turned his face back towards us. You know what he did? He sent his son. He said, I'm going to send my only son so that I could never turn away from them again. So I could never withhold myself from them again. So even in my frustration and my anger, I could never retract from them again. That's love. So when you are not properly loved, or when you don't properly love as a mother, what does this result in? Dysfunction. Dysfunction in identity. Women and men that cannot receive love, and it creates a culture of anger. It creates a culture of ultra independence. It creates a culture of solitude. It creates a culture of rebellion. It creates a culture of fear. All these things happen when love is not at the forefront. And so the reason why this is very important to understand, because from birth to 12 months old, that time, those months, those weeks, those days are so vital. The baby is designed to literally be with you. They come out of you, but they're designed to be with you. This is why they talk about skin to skin. This is why they like to be on your chest. This is why they like to be held. These are all things that are supposed to happen. But we have created a society where we say, put that baby down. Don't spoil that baby. These are things that are supposed to happen. We do things like introduce pacifiers to pacify them, to silence them, not recognizing that cry, that coo, that sound, all those things are development, and they are necessary for you to grow. They are necessary for them to develop. They are necessary for them to understand the bonding that comes in that place has been stripped, has been reduced down. And so the baby is created to be with you, designed to be with you the entire time. The suckle, the nursing, the time spent on your chest, all these things are vital and necessary for sustained growth, for productivity. And this is what happens when you nurse your baby. These type of things come out of you whether you like it or not. The things like oxytocin and all these things that are released in your brain, these things create bonding agents. They bring you closer and let you know what the child needs and what they don't, and what you need as well. But we have robbed mothers of this basic understanding, and because of that, there is a lot of separation and misunderstandings happening. And so I want to encourage you that if you are expecting, if you have a new baby, if you have a toddler, even if you have a young child, a teenager, an adult child, if you miss something in this area, take time. Take time to research, to learn, to grow again. Because there's always something that we can do to change and to evolve. And even the things that I am really grabbing a hold to now, I'm starting to implement with my older children. I will never get to a place where I say, well, oops, my bad, I didn't know. It's not enough. We have to continue to grow, evolve, and we have to continue to see that God created mothers for a purpose. There, we are very important vessels. Everything that has come through a mother. So when we see all of the craziness happening, We have to take some responsibility. And we're going to get into, we are going deep over the next 7 weeks. We're going to talk about traumas. We're going to go from the other end. We're going to talk about children. But right now we are focusing on this critical stage of development, of nurturing, of loving, of that giving. Because a lot of us don't give to our children love because we don't know how, or because we've been so broken. But that cannot overthrow what we need to do in these critical years. So I want to thank you for joining me tonight. I don't want to be too long. I want you to get this information, but I just don't want you to, how our attention spans. I am going to be hosting a workshop. I am so excited about it. It's called I Am a Mother. It is laced with information. It is full of everything we need to know to be equipped and equipped each other to build a community, a village, so that we can continue to grow and evolve as mothers and be what we need to be in this life. These are the topics that are going to be covered. And so if you go back and watch the replay, you can pause here and see the things that we're going to be talking about. But we definitely are going to be going deeper into this nurturing. This is only the surface of tonight. We are going way deeper into this. I have so much more to share. We're going to be talking more in depthly about love, trauma, the mind of a child, what they see, their reality, their perspectives. We're going to be talking about generational trauma and mother wounds. We're going to be talking about child development. We're going to be talking about more extensively the birthing years, the even from pregnancy and beyond, the foundational years, which I consider the first 5 years of life, what are crucial. And I have some special guests that are going to be coming. I'm so excited about this. And so if you even was able to get a bit of what you needed tonight, please be sure to share, comment, like, tag your friends, your fellow mothers, your aunts, your grandmothers, anybody that needs to see this. Fathers can see this as well because it's information that they can pass on. And the workshop will be in October, so you have time to sign up. It will be hosted via Zoom. I'm so excited for a packed room. You can RSVP to this email address, MaleciaGriffin@gmail.com, and I will email you the instructions on how to register. You have a great night, and thank you for joining me. And remember, toxic cycles don't get to define you. And you can live a life void of the brokenness that tried to plague you. That means that you are forgiven. God bless you.